Picture it. Your kitchen, 2004. You're pouring a bowl of cereal while trying to figure out how Twista says all those lyrics in Overnight Celebrity so fast. The TV is playing some sparkly cartoon in the time slot before your bus comes, and if you're like me, you don't give it a second thought. It's mostly background noise and might have even made you change the channel when they started singing, but little do you know, 17 years later, you'll be entranced. I'm Antonio Ache, and this is Comic Romance. On January 22nd of 2021, Netflix hit us with an unexpected original series, Fate, the WINX Saga. That's right, that glittery explosion you once ignored is now a fascinating flurry of special effects that you can't take your eyes off of. As with any other supernatural teen drama, there's always things that you're gonna love and things you're gonna hate, so here's a quick spoiler-free take on those things. Love? Magic and monsters and mystery, all pretty cool. Hate? Yet another instance where the source material properly reps people of color, but the adaptation kinda misses the mark. Love? Not a massively known property, so there's a lot of world building and things that you wouldn't expect. Hate? It's not a miniseries, but it is super short, and for ages we didn't even get the "Season 2 is coming" from Netflix, and you know they like to cancel good shows. Love? Even though I just said I hated it, the fact that it's short and sweet means no episode is filler. It's all necessary viewing. Season 2 is slated to bring 8 episodes, which means 2 more than last time, but it'll likely be paced equally as well as the first. Okay, now that we've gotten partial views from the people who wait years to watch something but still want to avoid spoilers, here goes the warning, right here. Now let's talk about what happened for all those who watched it but forgot. In episode 1, we're introduced to our main cast as they enter Alfea, which is a magically warded fairy version of Hogwarts. Our main protagonist is Bloom. She's an American pyrokinetic or fire fairy who is new to the fairy world and adventurous to an annoying fault. Tara is the sometimes soft-spoken chlorokinetic or earth fairy whose father works in the greenhouse at the school. Aisha is a hydrokinetic or water fairy who does her best to do the right thing, much to the chagrin of her new friends. Stella, who has all the mean girl vibes you'd expect from a photokinetic Gen Z socialite, also has a hard shell but is a big softie in the end. Musa, who's a mind fairy, is an empathic loner type because with her powers it's just easier that way. Fun fact, in the cartoon, Musa is a fairy with musical powers, but I like the psychic route they went for her instead. Riven is one of the non-powered military-trained fighters that accompany the Fae, known as specialists. He's a brash, to-the-point thrill-seeker who's here to support the male lead and queerbait the hell out of Dane and the audience. His friend, Sky, another specialist, who is immediately and obviously the angel to Bloom's Buffy, wait, is that too old of a reference? He's the Steve Trevor to her Wonder Woman. Ooh, the Huey to her Starlight. Boom. There we go. That's current enough. Let's go with that. Anyway, Stella leads Bloom into the fairy hall and begins the exposition. She drops mentions of her gateway ring that she inherited and talks about the 7 realms in Otherworld. Throughout the series, we see or hear about 3 of them, Solaria, Heraklion, and Lynphea, while the other 4 we'll hopefully get to see soon. Bloom briefly talks with Headmistress Farrah Dowling, and she explains that fairy evolution brought about the loss of transformation magic that once granted them wings, providing us with a cheeky bit of foreshadowing while also promising to help teach Bloom to control her abilities. Our intro into the specialist tells us that they trained to battle against burned ones and other threats, even though the last burned one was supposedly taken out 16 years ago. In the midst of a student mixer and against better advisement, Bloom decides to go out past the barrier and test out her control over fire in a forest. I know, not terribly smart. But it did give us the cool scene of Aisha playing waterbender to put out the forest fire Bloom was about to start. As early on as episode 1, we get sprinklings of the deeper mysteries to unfold in the rest of the season. Another perk of a 6-episode run. One thing that really rubbed me the wrong way in the first few episodes is how easily just anyone can travel through the barrier. When I heard about it, I was expecting a more difficult force field akin to the wards around breakbills from magicians. But for whatever reason, most can see and simply walk right through the barrier of Alfea. And we know they have stronger illusion magic, as we see later when they take a trip to Aster Dell, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back. So Bloom's difficulty controlling her powers as well as spotty backstory leads to everyone figuring out eventually that she's a changeling. Changelings, in WINX lore at least, are fairy babies who are sent to the first world and swapped in to be raised by unsuspecting humans. Bloom's nature as a changeling seems to be why she is somewhat able to sense the burned ones, which comes in handy as Sky needs to find and kill the one who attacked Silva in order to save his life. While the others are distracted with the goings-on surrounding the burned one, Beatrix, to the surprise of literally no one, sneaks into the headmaster's office to further her own shady motives. After the team takes down the burned one, Bloom has a vision of a woman saying, "Find me." and she begins her search through Alphea's secret history in order to do just that. Before we get into the big showdown stuff from the last 2 episodes, here's a quick rundown of the B story plots that aren't that important. Stella has mommy issues and way less control over her powers than she'd like to admit. She and Sky dated last year, but then she supposedly blinded her friend for flirting with him, so it was a whole thing. Bloom and Sky like each other, but they're doing the whole will they won't they dance. Sky's hair just always looks like he didn't finish styling it. I don't know why. The changeling news makes Bloom adopted, but that doesn't really get much focus through the main portion of the season. Musa likes Sam, who turns out to be Tara's brother. Tara likes Dane, who is friendly with her but is ambiguously involved in a throuple with Riven and Beatrix. Riven actually dates Musa in the cartoon, but they only share one quick scene this season, so who knows. But now, on to the good stuff. So after Beatrix takes Bloom to the ruins of Asterdell, the city of her birth, she tells Bloom that the headmaster, Silva, and even Tara's pops were responsible for its desecration and the following imprisonment of the woman who saved them both, Rosalind. When they return to Alphea, the others have deduced that Beatrix killed the headmaster's previous assistant, and they immediately throw magic dampeners on Beatrix and put her in a cage. Bloom then confronts Headmaster Dowling about her past, and she reveals that Rosalind lied to the other teachers on that fateful day in Asterdell. Not too long after breaking this news to Bloom, she hurries away to defend the barrier from a horde of burned ones that are approaching. While the headmaster is out, the girls decide to use Beatrix to help them get to Rosalind. Aisha, the only young fairy with common sense, meets with the teachers and the specialists to inform them of the girls' plan. In the last episode, Bloom frees Rosalind and the teachers magically lock the rest of the girls in their suite as punishment. After her release, Rosalind immediately drains the magic of the school to power herself back up. During her recharge, she tries to get Bloom to go full Phoenix in the Stone Circle, all the while the burned ones have gotten into the school and they're maiming students left and right. If you've stuck around this far into the video, I'd like to thank you and apologize for any airplane noises that you heard, because I couldn't, I'm certain I won't be able to edit them all out. Silva, thinking that he was possibly going to die, reveals to Sky that his father's death was at his own hands right before the massacre at Asterdell. It's crazy how everything seemed to start that day. In proper main character fashion, Bloom powers up and transforms in the last 30 minutes and takes out all the burned ones who have gotten into the school. In the aftermath of it all, we're teased with the news that the villagers of Asterdell weren't all burned ones, nor were they humans, but in fact, they were blood witches, and will probably be an issue next season. Rosalind meets up with Beatrix and the newly recruited Riven and Dane, and then we're treated to the calm and surprisingly peaceful montage of Bloom telling her adoptive parents the truth about her powers, and her sweet mates who came along in case things didn't go well are all having a laugh over scones and whatnot, and it seems that all is well. And then the Solarian Royal Guards and Queen Luna roll up to Alphea to arrest Silva for trying to kill Sky's father. That's right, the fabled Andreas of Heraklion is not only alive, but he's the dude who raised and trained Beatrix while Rosalind was in her magical stasis. During this shocking reveal, Rosalind and Farah have a conversation like old friends turned enemies do in these shows. But these two are no Magneto and Xavier, as is proven by how swift and mercilessly Rosalind offs Farah and leaves her next to the burned one she just buried. So at the end of the season, we have Rosalind as headmaster, Sky's dad is both not dead and helping to lead the new militarized version of Alphea, and Stella's mom, the Queen, is backing them both. No idea how they're gonna get out of this one in the 8 episodes that are coming, but I'm all too excited to find out. We'll see new and old fairies and specialists join the Sweetmates as Netflix revealed that Brandon Grace and Aina Hardwick will be playing Gray and Sebastian respectively. Fans of the old Winx Club cartoons and comics will probably be excited by the news that Paulina Chavez is joining the cast as fan favorite and obviously named Earth Fairy Flora. For those prepared to ask, sorry, there's still no news about Techno or Roxy at this time. Love it or hate it, there's plenty of nostalgia and goodness here for old fans and skeptics alike, and this is only the beginning. Season 2 airs on September 16th, so we hope this video helped you to get ready to binge it without having to watch the first season again, because like who has the time? Comment below with your favorite bit of the first season or your predictions for the next. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Comic Romance and on Twitter at romance_comic. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified of our future vids. So until the next time when we get hooked on a live action adaptation of a cartoon that I can only guess we slept on, I'm Antonio Ache, and this is Comrom, where we do nerdy reviews with the occasional boost.